What's going on, guys? So today I got a very quick video for you, basically getting into gauges, what my setup's going to be, and why I'm running these gauges specifically. So I guess I'll start off by saying, so these are the AEM gauges. They are the X-Line series. They're located in California, and they're a very good performance electronic company. So the X-Line series gauges, they're a little bit slimmer. They're about 1 inch in length, and when you go to assemble these, you're not really going to have issues with clearance, because there are some issues if the gauges are a little bit too thick, maybe they're 2 inches in diameter. The old designs, these are the newer designs, because this is like a more sleeker look, and then on top of that, when it sits, it's going to sit perfectly. But the other thing is they're all digital. So digital, you get the accurate readings, because it'll show like the actual decimals and percentages. But I'm gonna get right into it and say, so to the right, so I'm deciding to run a 60 PSI gauge. And the only reason why is because I honestly don't know what PSI level the car is going to make. It could make 42 PSI, but then again, it could make 50 PSI. Every tuner is different, every car is different. So I'm really gonna have to wait and see, but I didn't wanna underestimate and then be like, oh, now I have to sell this gauge and get a new one that can actually read the boost that I'm looking for or looking at. But enough said on that. I mean, a boost gauge will read, how much boost your turbo is producing, peak boost, all those. So this gauge was actually $276. Now, it is more on the expensive side, but I mean, there are other gauges that they provide that go up to 40 PSI, 50 PSI, or the typical 30 PSI, and they're a lot cheaper. But for this, I mean, it's high horsepower. So, I mean, it's something I had to get. Next, I have in front of me the air-fuel ratio gauge. So the air-fuel ratio gauge is basically self-explanatory. It's definitely useful for, reading your air-fuel ratios. It'll determine when you're lean. It could be, I've heard it where people say it for a second, they've been flooring it, and they'll see that their cars go lean for just that quick second and go right back to normal. So why is that? Is there a hiccup in the ECU? Is there a hiccup in the tune? And that's where it's gonna come down to a lot of brainstorming and troubleshooting to make sure that your car is running pristine all the time, because you don't want any issues. And that's the thing, all these gauges are more like insurance. They'll let you know about issues before you find them out the hard way. So you could save a lot of money. I mean, if you think about the boost gauge, I mean, it could determine whether you have a boost leak, or it could determine if something's wrong with the turbo. Maybe your turbo's on its way out. But it's one of those things where it can be very beneficial and to save you some money. The next thing with the air-fuel ratio, it's again one of those things where maybe your fuel pump's on its way out. Maybe your car's running lean because maybe the fuel injector is clogged. There's a couple things that you can kind of brainstorm and think on that can help with making sure that your car is running at its 100%. And then finally, this gauge was actually $180, by the way. So $276, $180. And this one, so this is the oil pressure gauge. Now this gauge goes up to about 150 PSI. And normal oil pressure at idle, what I've seen, is probably around 18, 19. I've seen like plus 15 is pretty good. But if it starts going, drastically lower, or you see that it's going way too high, now it will increase with, each RPM that you go up. But, it's, again, you'll learn what's normal and what's not normal. So, like I said, every car is different, but you will learn and see, okay, that something is off. And of course, these gauges will let you know when when the numbers are off, obviously. So they are all digital, like I said. They're clean gauges. I love them. They're going to be installed on the car probably, I don't know, hopefully soon. Let me know if you guys want to see an install video. If you just want to leave a remark in the comment section below, I'll definitely get back to you on it. And last but not least, so a lot of people, when they come to gauges, they think about like an A-pillar gauge pod, which is a nice setup, or you can have them right above the dash, which is also a nice setup. Or you could just remove your whole stock radio and just put I've seen a lot of people put tablets there, and there's so many different things you can do. The opportunities are endless. But for me, I wanted to do a super clean look. So what I ended up doing was there's actually a company called Ortiz Pods, ORTIZ PODS, and they actually fabricate and make custom gauge pods. So this is an OEM one. I didn't take mine out. I didn't send it off to them. They get OEM, the OEM dash parts, and that way they can start, doing their work on it. They already, I mean, this is a direct replacement. So you can pop off your old one, pop this right on, and now you actually have two fitments for those two gauges. So I actually plan on running the air-fuel ratio gauge, and then on top of that, the boost gauge. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the AC vent gauge gauge pod today, but it's actually the gauge pod that has all the vents showing. It's not just two parts or broken in half. All the vents are showing, and right in the center, they actually have, almost like the gauge, they have a center black ring that'll hold that gauge in place. And there's no clearance issues, and you still get the comfort of AC if you use it. So that is my personal setup. It's a stealthy look. I like it because, it's all together. Anyway, I'm looking at my miles per hour, I'm looking at my RPMs, and on top of that, now I have the air-fuel ratio and boost to look at. The other thing is it's, I don't know why this is, but it's a very stereotypical thing. People see you driving on the highway and then you got gauges on it, they instantly think, oh, that car's modified. Car's performance. Car's, he's going through the track. They all think it's a race car, but honestly, you know what? Even for using this, if you have a performance car that's a daily driver, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have just to make sure that it's running good. Especially, turbos are unpredictable. I mean, turbocharged cars, they can come up with issues at any times, but ruling out those issues and knowing that the whole car is running properly, that's the key part to saving money, because you can figure out, okay, well, if there is that boost shortage, if there is the air-fuel ratio that's off, or if the oil pressure is low, you know that there's something not right. So instead of keep driving the car until something breaks, now you can rule out the cause beforehand. So that's pretty much this video. I got a lot more going on. I'm gonna get into more transmission part, the clutch, and then on top of that, maybe I might do a video on the turbo kit. So stay tuned.